This first exercise I call rebound eights. There's a lot of different names for the exercise. 8 on a hand is the most obvious because you're playing 8 right hands and 8 left hands. You just go back and forth. You're going to see this exercise. It almost seems like a no-brainer. You look at it and you think, okay, 8 rights, 8 lefts, got it, next. But in reality, there's a lot of things that you can get out of this exercise that will take you from the very beginning level up to the highest level. Essentially, what I'm trying to accomplish with a rebound stroke is that I'm throwing my drumstick against the pad or drum, whichever, and I'm trying to get my hand out of the way as much as possible to allow the stick to rebound back up to the up position. So if I start up here and I throw my stick on the drum head, it'll rebound back up. I just want to keep my hand out of the way so that I'm not doing anything but throwing the stick initially down to the drum, letting the drum do all the work. Now what you'll notice as I play is the stick is traveling straight up and down, or as much as I can make it travel straight up and down. The other thing is that the height of rise on every single stroke is exactly the same. Whether I'm playing my right hand or playing the left hand, you should see those strokes pretty much level. The other thing that's very important is that you listen to the sound that you're playing when you're playing on a drum or a practice pad. You should be getting exactly the same sound out of every single stroke that you play on the pad. Now I'm going to move the tempo up to 120. I'm going to play the same rebound strokes, 8 on a hand at 120. Alright, so you see that the stick is traveling up and down and I'm getting my hand out of the way. Basically the pad is doing all the work for me. All I'm doing is throwing the stick against the pad and it's bouncing up just like if I had a tennis ball or a basketball and I was dribbling that ball. With a traditional grip it's a little bit different. Make sure that you're having the same concept in the left hand, but the left hand is turning this way rather than this way. So if you're a traditional grip player, which I grew up playing match grip, if you're a traditional grip player, you want to make sure that we're isolating that and not pumping the arms. Listen to 8 on a hand at 120 now with traditional grip. Okay. Now on a little bit more advanced level, if I took the tempo up to 200 beats a minute, what you're going to see is that instead of me throwing the stick with my wrist, I switch to a technique where I start using my back fingers to throw the stick. Really at this tempo, I could play that with my wrist, but in reality, the faster that you go, the more smaller muscle groups you need to use so that you can control the action better. Okay? Watch my hands as I play the same exercise at 200 beats a minute. Okay? So you see what I'm doing here is I'm using my back fingers to dribble the stick. Now if you're a beginner, this is probably fairly weird to you because the fingers tend to not be coordinated. It tends to be something that you have to develop coordination of these back fingers. Here's an exercise that I teach my beginners to do, and you can do this whether you're a beginner or an advanced level player, especially on drum set or anything else. Take your fingers and slap the back of your palm. So if I use my fingers like this, and you can do this exercise whether you're sitting in a classroom or you're talking on the phone or sitting on the couch watching TV, you can do this exercise to get better and faster at moving your fingers. So that way when I go back to the drum, I can use my fingers to dribble the stick instead of trying to play that with my wrist. And you see that all the time with drummers. If you're using a traditional grip, There's so many different variations on how teachers teach the traditional grip. I won't really get into a whole lot here, but you're going to wind up using the first finger, the index finger, and the thumb to dribble a stick. So instead of this type of motion, where the back fingers are pushing the stick into the palm of the hand, we're going to have this kind of motion. So I can use my thumb and it pushes the stick down on each stroke, or I can use my first finger depending on the speed that I'm going. A lot of times at this tempo, what I like to have my students do is 16 on a hand, just because it lasts a little bit longer and you can get a little more finger action out of it. So this is 16 on a hand.